So you want to follow in the footsteps of your favorite trader that you see on social media, or maybe you've been watching the videos on my channel and you want to follow in the footsteps of what I have done to become a full-time trader. And I'm going to go through a little breakdown of what you actually need to be a full-time trader. I'm not going to say you need this app, you need this strategy, because that is obviously completely up to you. The way you trade, what softwares you use, what firms you trade with, which brokers, that doesn't really matter. What you need to have is a certain profitability to actually make it full time. And I'm going to break that down in this video with a nice example that I feel like will resonate with a lot of people watching this video. Before we get into this video, you just need to consider how much capital and how much time you're willing to invest into the markets and into developing your strategy, developing a whole plan that you can actually trade. And then the money you are actually looking to risk to make this a reality, to make the plan you have actually come into action basically, so you can trade profitably. So what I mean by this is, let's say you're going down the personal account route and that is your main way you're going to make money from trading full time, and this is going to be the way you are going to fund your expenses and your lifestyle, then you can't do that with a £1,000 account. That is just not possible at all. You can't do this with £10,000. Some people might disagree with that, but again, I think it is completely impossible to do so unless you are making outrageous returns on your capital, which probably isn't possible. And when people actually realize this, they kind of panic because they think, oh, well, I have 5 figures saved up, but I still can't trade and make a living from this. And the answer is, no, you cannot. And that's a simple way to actually put it. So we then have to consider what are the other options, basically. So we obviously have investor capital, which is going to be very difficult for a beginner trader. You have no track record, you have no experience actually trading live money yet, or substantial amounts of large money. And you have the prop firm route. And this is where it gets kind of difficult for a lot of beginner traders to trade full time. Let's say you are someone who works a minimum wage job, or you work and majority of your expenses go towards your living, your food, or your bills in your house, your car. It is obviously not that easy to save up a lot of money. And then you think, oh, if I save up £500, I can buy a 100k prop firm challenge. Okay, then we'll use that for the example. £500 prop firm challenge, $100,000. What can we actually do with this? Well, we have to consider what is a good return for a strategy, and one that doesn't give you a super high chance of actually blowing that challenge in the first place. So we're going to give you a hypothetical situation here, and let's say your max drawdown is 8% and your average yearly return is 20%. So obviously quite a good return. You're returning 2.5 times your risk in a year, which is very, very good going. But you have to consider, if you are making 20% in a year on a personal account, on a track record, an investor capital, that is going to be amazing results. I know a lot of people that invest in the S&P 500 and would be happy with 8-9% per year, and I'm one of those people. So if you're able to consistently make 20% per year, you obviously have a great strategy, and it's definitely something that is scalable long term. However, if you are trading, like I said at the start of this video, with £10,000, you making 20% per year is only £2,000. Can that cover your expenses? Absolutely not. So we obviously can't go full time with that route unless you want to continuously deposit, grow, compound, and it will obviously take many, many, many years to get to a stage where you can live just from trading that account alone. So we'll go back to the 100k challenge now. So let's say the start of the year, you buy that challenge and you make 20% in that year. And what this basically means is the first 10% is obviously going towards phase 1. The next 5% is going towards phase 2. So 15% of your yearly profit is now, gone to just no money basically. It's just gone straight to the challenge. And now you have the remainder of the 20%, 5% left. You can obviously now go on your funded account and you make $5,000. What we also need to consider here is you don't get all of that $5,000. Let's assume an 80-20 profit split. So obviously you'll get $4,000 from that. If you're living in the UK, like the example we use, you'll probably get, $3,500 from that. So you've gone a full year, you've made 20%, you've invested £500, and now you've got back £3,500, let's say for this example, and then you get your refund. So you've worked a full year trading to make £3,500. I personally would not do that, but then you also are probably going to think, well, the next year you don't have to pass the challenge, and that is true. So the next year, you would do the exact same thing, you'll make that 20%, but because you're not doing the phase 1 and phase 2, you're just on the funded stage now, everything is going to be profit. So you make your $20,000, you take off the profit split, so you make $16,000, then you convert that into pounds, which is probably $13,000-14,000, let's say 14,000. Again, 2 years in, you're still earning under minimum wage. So then we go to the third year, and it'll just be the same again. So you'll make that 14 grand again. So the only way for you to truly scale and become a full-time trader is either having lots of personal capital that you're willing to invest into multiple prop firm challenges, or secondly, ready to scale any profits you make back into prop firm challenges. And this is a cycle that many people can't do because they value the profits way too much. If you got that first payout, let's say £3,500 for this example, are you going to think, okay, I just done a year of trading to make £3,500? Logically, is it a good idea for me to now invest that back into another challenge and repeat the process? Most people would want to spend that money. They want to, buy something with it to kind of reward themselves from getting a payout. I see it so often. A trader will get a payout, they'll buy a Rolex, or they'll buy a new car, or they'll go on a holiday and spend all the money. Again, if you want to actually become a full-time trader and not just have it as, a part-time hobby or part-time side hustle income, then you need to be ready to commit to investing more into your trading career. So let's put that into perspective. So let's say you got your £500 refund. A good way to obviously scale is by using a refund to purchase another challenge, because then it means that it's all risk-free. Worst case scenario, we're going to pay for that anyway. So let's say after the first year, you had your £3,500 that's actually been paid to you in your bank. You can leave it there and do whatever you want with it. And with that £500 that you paid for the initial challenge fee, you've now bought another 100k to take another challenge in the second year. But if you remember, in the second year, we made £14,000. And obviously, if you go through the 20% again, assuming the exact same flat profit, obviously, in the same drawdown, you're going to make £3,500. So now you've made £17,500 in the second year. So it's gone from 14k in the second year to 17.5k. But here's where things actually compound. In the third year, if you actually do the same again, so you've bought another challenge with the refund fee, and you've obviously got two 100k challenges that have been passed, and now you're on the funded stage, and you've obviously received payouts. So in the third year, we're obviously going to add up the profits, and you actually make £31,000 or £31,500. So you've gone from £3,500 to £17,500 to now £31,500. And you can see that by investing the profits each year, you could just link your accounts to on a trade copier. You could trade them simultaneously on different devices or anything, but you're able to almost double your profits, or actually over double your profits, obviously accounting for the two that you actually pass, basically every year. And if you keep doing this and you're making more profits, you're using those profits to scale, that is the only really realistic way for anyone watching this video to become a full-time trader. And I do feel like with the current state of the Forex industry, you need to make the most of prop firms like they are now. They have relatively easy rules, as long as you pick ones that don't have very, very silly consistency rules or limited risk. I know some that have 1.5% max risk per trade. Again, this can be quite difficult in some scenarios, but this is obviously assuming the examples in this video that you are risking 1% per trade. and you're able to take all the trades in your strategy. It will take many, many years to scale up to a certain point where you are making enough to quit your job, but you also need to consider that the failure rate in this industry is most likely above 90%. Obviously, you can never truly know who's actually put in the effort, but from my experience and what I've seen, a vast majority of people fail, quit, don't make money. So if you give yourself a few years to actually get to that point, or even if you decide to reinvest into more challenges after the first year and not just invest with your refund money, you can scale even quicker. Instead of just buying 100K, you can buy a 200K, which obviously means your 20% in a year is then doubled. So instead of making 14K, you're actually making 28K on that singular account. Again, these are definitely easy ways to scale quicker, but I just wanted to make a conservative example and approach towards prop firms so you guys can see how it can scale quickly if you do reinvest your money. But I do also think trading personal accounts is a great thing to do, and this is what you should do to actually trade and reinvest your prop firm profits. I would always suggest, and what I personally do, is I put a portion of my income into reliable long-term investments. I also have money that I trade personally, but you don't want to put everything in one. You want to put all your money in your personal trading account. You want to put all your money in one certain stock or one crypto or one index fund. Again, if you split things around, it's most likely going to pay off in the long term. And if you did enjoy this video and learn anything, let me know in the comments down below.